Hi guys, welcome back to the Book Bakht channel. My name is Bakhtawer and I do book reviews like the one you're watching right now. Today's book of choice is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Now, it was published in 1915 and I'm going to start you off with a synopsis. It's about a traveling salesman who transforms into a beetle-like insect overnight, and then the subsequent novel is about sort of the people around him, their reaction, his coming to terms with it, and there are some subliminal themes of society's lack of acceptance and society's standards of existence, so to speak. Now, one of the aspects of Kafka's singular style was that he took something that was essentially bizarre and unrelatable, and he would sort of reframe it into something that you would not only expect but is also pretty plausible. He's done this with a bunch of his other novellas, such as The Trial or The Hunger Artist. Now, in Metamorphosis, however, I mean, you find that Gregor, the main character, he obviously is surprised at his transformation, but he's not entirely affected by it. You know, he already, because he already feels like that on the inside. He feels like a worthless cog in a machine, you know, because he's working to support his family in taxing circumstances. He feels worthless. He has, you know, poor self-image, poor self-esteem. So the fact that he's transformed into an insect is something which doesn't surprise him, although it surprises his family. Now this particular style, in the years since his death, has come to be known as a Kafkaesque style, which sort of accounts for nightmarish and harrowing experiences, which are often disorienting and yet have a sort of basis in reality or a basis in the sort of union of mental and physical states. So this, you know, it's you might also see this in sort of you know, pop culture and art and stuff. A lot of people have emulated it. Now, Metamorphoses in many of Kafka's work, they were sort of tagged as a modern terminology, but they were sort of categorized under the art movement of surrealism, in which was popular in the 1920s, in which again you have sort of realistic backdrops, but you have, you know, really bizarre elements that don't really belong there. So you know, this, so obviously it is under surrealistic literature. Now, while Gregor is mildly surprised, he never sort of seeks explanations or he never seeks out why he's turned into something. It just seems, again, it seems very plausible to him. So it sort of boils down to the reader feeling like life is utterly, you know, or ultimately meaningless, and there's no point in spending too much thought on it, which was something that Kafka believed in himself. He was very, you know, very fatalistic. You know, he believed that nothing mattered and nothing that we did had any impact on anyone. And many of his characters sort of ended up in a situation in which, you know, there was no other way except to end their lives or to die, or, you know, because they would all ultimately come to the sort of conclusion that it wasn't worth it. Now, the reconciliation of the mental and physical states, like I mentioned before, in Gregor's case, evokes a disgust from the people that he knows, but to him it feels, it's very cathartic. You know, he feels like the different parts of his personality and his physical being are coming together, and he's not, you know, he only goes into a depression when he realizes that other people will never accept him for who he is. Now, obviously this was a psychological concept that Kafka was pretty enamored with, and you know, in the story, even the sister of the protagonist, you know, she's his fiercest advocate, but even she abandons him and she says things like, no, we must kill that thing, or whatever, you know, sort of effectively stripping the main character of his humanity, telling him that he doesn't matter anymore, even though he's you know, he's all right with it. Now, he does achieve for some time, he does achieve a certain mental freedom in his transformation, despite the fact that he's confined to a room. You know, he likes to hang from the ceiling or you know, press his, I mean, it's because the parts have come together that he feels like he's been set free, despite the fact that his family treats him badly and he's confined, and, you know, strangers like the tenants that live next door, they're horrified by him, and everyone hates him, but he's finally coming to peace with himself. So obviously in the end he does have to realize that, or towards the end, he does have to realize that while he may accept himself, the world is never going to accept him. You know, lastly, I would sign off by saying that you have to view this in the lens of Kafka's own life, because he lived in the shadow of his overpowering father, who was violent and abusive, and Kafka never really processed any of his childhood trauma. He remained in awe of his father till his early death at 40 years old. And he was never able to sort of come to terms with it. He never got over it. And he wrote a letter to his father which never reached which never reached him, in which he sort of, he dwelled on all of these ideas and all of these themes of how he felt so much like an insect, really. So he never triumphed over these things, and that is what this novella clearly sort of depicts so beautifully. So yeah, that's all for today, folks.